Alina's hands shook as she pushed open the glass door, her heart pounding faster than it ever had in her 7 months of pregnancy. She had come to surprise her husband, Dante, at his downtown office, carrying a small box of his favorite pastries and a smile she had practiced in the car mirror. But the smile disappeared the moment she saw him standing close to a woman she had never met before. The woman was tall, with dark hair falling over her shoulders, and she was holding Dante's hand like it belonged to her. Alina froze in the doorway, the box slipping from her fingers and landing softly on the carpet. Neither of them noticed her at first. Dante was speaking in a low voice, his expression serious, almost pleading, while the woman nodded slowly, her eyes calm and unreadable. Alina's mind raced through 1,000 questions. Who was this woman? Why did Dante look so nervous, a look she had rarely seen on his confident face? She took a small step back, trying to steady her breathing when she noticed something strange. Two men in dark suits stood near the hallway, not talking, just watching the street outside like they were guarding something important. She had seen men like this before, always near Dante, always silent, always alert. A sound behind her made her jump. Another man appeared from a side room, carrying a folder, and quickly disappeared behind a door that clicked shut with a heavy, metallic sound. That was not the sound of an ordinary office door. Alina's stomach tightened, and it was not from the baby moving inside her. She thought about the late-night phone calls Dante always took in another room, the unexplained trips to cities he never named, and the expensive watch he once wore for a single week before it vanished from his drawer. She had ignored these things before, telling herself that every husband had secrets, that love meant trusting without asking too many questions. But standing there, watching him hold another woman's hand while armed men guarded the hallway, trust felt like a foolish word. Alina took a breath and quietly stepped back through the door, careful not to make a sound. Her heels clicked against the pavement outside as she hurried to her car, tears blurring her vision. She sat behind the wheel for a long moment, gripping it tightly, trying to make sense of what she had just seen. Was Dante having an affair? Or was something bigger happening, something she had refused to see for years? Her phone buzzed in her purse. It was a message from her sister, Claire, asking how the surprise visit had gone. Alina stared at the screen, unable to type a single word. She started the engine, her mind spinning with fear and confusion, and drove away from the building without looking back. Whatever secret Dante was hiding, she knew now that her comfortable life was built on something far more dangerous than she had ever imagined, and there was no way to unknow what she had just seen. Alina did not go home that night. Instead, she drove to a small coffee shop across the city, the kind of place Dante never visited, and sat alone in a corner booth, replaying the scene from the office again and again in her mind. The woman's calm face, the silent guards, the locked door. None of it matched the man she thought she had married. She called her old friend Peter, someone who had worked with Dante years ago before leaving the company suddenly without explanation. Peter had always been kind to her, and she hoped he might help her understand what she had witnessed. When he answered, his voice grew tense the moment she mentioned the office and the woman with dark hair. Peter asked her to meet him somewhere private, away from cameras and crowded streets. Alina agreed, her curiosity now stronger than her fear. They met at a quiet park bench an hour later, where Peter looked around carefully before speaking. He told her that Dante was not simply a businessman running imports and real estate deals. He was the head of a powerful organization that controlled much of the city's underground economy, an organization built on loyalty, secrecy, and fear. Peter had left because he could no longer live with what he had seen, though he refused to share every detail, saying it was safer for both of them if she knew only what she needed. Alina felt her whole body go cold. She thought of the nights Dante came home late with unexplained bruises he blamed on the gym, the sudden bursts of wealth followed by long periods of silence, and the way people lowered their voices whenever his name was mentioned. She had built a life around a man whose true world she had never truly seen. Still, something did not add up. Peter mentioned that the woman she saw, whose name he believed was Sophia, was new to the city and had appeared only a few months earlier. She was always seen near Dante, yet she never attended any family gatherings or public events with him. That detail struck Alina as strange. If Sophia were truly involved with Dante, why keep her so hidden, even within his own private world? Peter admitted he did not know the full answer, but he warned Alina to be careful. People connected to Dante's world did not simply walk away without consequences, and if Sophia was involved in something bigger, Alina's own safety might depend on how much she chose to uncover. That night, lying awake in a hotel room she had booked under her maiden name, Alina placed a hand on her belly and made a quiet promise to her unborn child. She would find out the truth, not out of anger alone, but to understand what kind of life she was bringing this child into. Whatever Dante was hiding, she needed to know if it was something she could survive, or something she needed to escape before it was too late. The next morning, Alina decided she could not simply wait for answers to come to her. She needed proof, something solid enough to help her understand who Sophia really was and why she had suddenly appeared in Dante's life. She remembered a small notebook Dante kept locked in his study, one he never let her touch, and for the first time in her marriage, she decided to open it. While Dante was away at a meeting, Alina searched his study carefully, her hands trembling as she found a spare key hidden behind a photograph of their wedding day. Inside the notebook were names, dates, and numbers she did not understand, but one name appeared again and again beside notes about meetings and locations: Sophia Bennett. Alina also found a folder tucked beneath old documents, containing photographs of Sophia in different settings, always from a distance, as though someone had been watching her carefully. In one photo, Sophia was speaking with two men in formal suits outside a government building downtown. Alina's understanding of the situation began to shift in a direction she had not expected. She called Peter again, describing what she had found. After a long pause, Peter admitted something he had been unsure whether to share. He had heard rumors, nothing confirmed, that Sophia was not simply another woman in Dante's life. She might be connected to a federal investigation, someone placed close to Dante to gather information about his organization from the inside. Alina's breath caught in her throat. If this was true, then everything she believed about the moment in the office needed to be reconsidered. Perhaps Dante was not betraying her with Sophia in the way she assumed. Perhaps something far more complicated was unfolding, something involving danger not just for Dante, but for their entire family. Determined to learn more, Alina visited the government building she had seen in the photograph, pretending to ask about unrelated public records. While there, she noticed Sophia walking briskly through a hallway, speaking quietly with an older man in a formal jacket. Their conversation stopped the moment they noticed someone nearby, and Sophia glanced toward Alina for just a second before walking away. That brief glance told Alina something important. Sophia recognized her, and there was no warmth or guilt in her expression, only quiet caution, the look of someone protecting a secret far bigger than an affair. Alina returned to her car, her mind now racing with a new kind of fear, one built not on jealousy, but on the growing realization that her husband's world was more dangerous and more complicated than she had ever imagined. She placed both hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead, and whispered to herself that she needed the full truth, no matter how frightening it might be, before she could decide what to do next for herself and for the child she was carrying. Alina decided the only way forward was to face Dante directly. She returned home that evening, and when he finally arrived, she saw exhaustion and worry etched across his face, an expression she had never seen him wear before. Before he could speak, she placed the notebook and the folder of photographs on the table between them. Dante's expression shifted from surprise to quiet resignation. He sat down slowly, rubbing his hands together, and admitted that he had been keeping something from her for months, something he had hoped to resolve before she ever discovered it. He explained that Sophia was indeed connected to a federal investigation, but she was not there to expose him out of malice. She was helping him build a case against the very organization he had once led, an organization he desperately wanted to leave behind for the sake of his family. Dante confessed that for years he had felt trapped by the world he inherited, a world built long before Alina entered his life. He had been secretly working with investigators, providing information in exchange for protection and a new beginning for his family, away from danger and constant fear. Sophia's presence in his life was part of this careful arrangement, a necessary cover that unfortunately looked exactly like betrayal from the outside. Alina listened in silence, her emotions shifting between relief, disbelief, and lingering hurt. She asked why he never trusted her enough to share this with her sooner. Dante admitted that fear had guided every decision, fear that knowledge would put her and their unborn child in even greater danger if anything went wrong during the process. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. Peter stood outside, breathless, warning them that certain people within Dante's former circle had discovered his cooperation with investigators. Time had run out for careful planning. They needed to leave immediately if they wanted to remain safe while the legal process moved forward. In the tense hours that followed, Dante, Alina, and a small team of trusted individuals, including Sophia herself, worked together to secure their safety. Alina watched as the man she once saw as untouchable and confident now moved with urgency and vulnerability, fighting not for power, but for the survival of his family. As they left their home behind, Alina realized this was not the ending she had imagined when she first walked into that office and saw Dante with another woman. It was instead the beginning of an entirely different chapter, one built on complicated truths rather than simple betrayal, and one she now had to face together with him, for better or worse. Months passed before Alina finally felt a sense of calm settle over her new life. She now lived in a quiet town far from the city she once called home, under a different name, in a small house surrounded by trees instead of tall buildings and silent guards. The investigation into Dante's former organization had concluded, and with Sophia's careful work and Dante's cooperation, many dangerous operations had been shut down for good. Alina gave birth to a healthy baby girl during those tense final months, a moment that brought unexpected joy into a period filled with uncertainty. She named her daughter Grace, hoping the name would carry meaning into their new beginning. Dante, who had lost his wealth, his old connections, and the identity he once carried with pride, found a strange sense of peace in his new, simpler life. Sophia visited them once before disappearing into her next assignment, thanking Alina for her patience and courage during a situation that could have easily ended in tragedy. Alina realized that the woman she once viewed with anger and suspicion had actually played a crucial role in giving her family a chance at safety and honesty. Peter also settled nearby, helping Dante adjust to an ordinary life, one without hidden meetings or silent guards standing watch. Slowly, Dante learned to build trust with Alina in a way their earlier years together had never allowed, sharing details of his past honestly instead of hiding them behind locked doors and secret notebooks. Alina often thought back to that terrifying evening in the office, the moment she believed her marriage was ending in betrayal. She understood now that appearances could hide complicated truths, and that real strength came not from avoiding difficult situations, but from facing them directly, even when the truth was frightening. As she watched Dante hold their daughter under the soft evening light of their new home, Alina felt a quiet gratitude for the path that had led them here. Their life together was no longer built on secrets and fear, but on honesty earned through hardship and shared sacrifice. Looking out at the peaceful street outside her window, Alina finally allowed herself to feel safe. The Mafia boss she once feared she had lost forever had instead become the man willing to give up everything for her and their child, proving that sometimes the darkest moments lead to the most honest and lasting beginnings.